if one should open up the truth about God, we think he's within his rights to stay out the sight of the people.
And the ancestors are looking out for us. God Hayes is exposing them, man.
Okay, you see that chair right there? See how big it is?
Yeah.
Now look at the Pope chair under it. Scroll down, look at the Pope chair under it.
Never have it been made so clear.
Young TV. Young
We running the game right now.
Young TV.
Time to take over.
Young
We the hottest in the game. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you just not tuned in.
TV.
Share, like on your Instagram, Facebook.
Young TV.
If you tuned in, we broadcasting live from 2030, baby.
Young TV. Young
Taking over the game, baby. Oh yeah.
Young TV.
Hit that like.
Young TV.
Get them likes up in the air, you heard me?
Young TV.
Ride by. Hotel Islam.
Young TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Flown letter.
Young TV.
Hit that like.
Hey, Zeke, get him on. Tell him we live. We lit. Hey, we broadcasted live right now from Orion, man. If you wonder why we ain't got our camera locked in, man, we getting set up. Hey, man, we about to drop it on you. We just put out that the Berlin conference breaking down how they divided Africa up into pieces and pretty much ripped it apart. So it's pretty much colonialism going on around the world, but we're gonna get in this what all these tapes that we've been putting out, like the science of colonialism, the Berlin conference, pretty much what happened to us over here on the land as Native Americans. And people was complaining about the different titles that we've been referred to as. We can get into that, but the main thing is to show that the whole world has been colonialized by the Europeans, who've been puppeted by the black hand, white glove. You see what I'm saying? So we about to get into because people was talking about this. I was talking about this today when I was talking about how the devil got took around the world by the Moors. The Moors are the ones who unleashed the devil onto the world, and they are pimps, they are players, they are Macs, the Macs. And shout out to my guys in London over there at OSM. We see they be listening to us, man, around the world. Shout out my African brothers, my Twamans, my Sans Mans, my Bantus, right? My Afar people, Afar cans, because we are the can people, African, Puerto Rican, Jamaican, American, and they've been kicking the can for quite some time, haven't they? Right? But now it's time, like Mark Brady used to tell us, it's time for the can to get up and show them what the can do. You see? And so what happens is about around going back to Yaku. See, this ties back to Yaku creating his superior race, being influenced by Ashtar Command, right? The Frugaloids, right? And these beings, the 8,400 years, they go back before the Canaanites, who mixed in later with the Canaanites, creating your Europeans race. But keep in mind, the guys who was putting this together, Yaku's scientists, they were black hand, white glove guys who are more scientists. They were more scientists, right? These guys. And they are the ones that were puppeting the whole thing from the background. But it starts when the Hyksos get rounded up out of ancient Kemet by two brothers, Akmos and Kakmos, and they rounded these guys up, cable tow them for all my square business guys out there. They know what I'm talking about the cable tow, the blindfold, and the rolling up of the pants legs, and the taking of the medals. See, little do you know, when you go into a lodge, when you enter the apprentice, they take all your medals and your belongings, and this is part of the ritual because the ritual goes back to the Arkmos and Cockmos and them rounding them up, cable towing them, robbing them of their the golds or metals that they had, anything precious metals or anything of value that they had, it was taken from them. And this later on played out to the Moors. People mind Cockmos and Arkmos and them were Moors. They were the good Moors, right? And then it plays out to the Moors later on after Arkmos and Cockmos and them, where really was Arkmos, the little brother, because they killed the older brother, Cockmos. He was trying to kill their ruler, Pappas, or Apap, right? Who was ruling over Memphis. Then we can get into that story overlaps with what Enlil was doing, right? Because these different names can translate into different cultures. But to make a long story short, Akmos rounded the Hyksos, who were goat holders, up and chased them out of ancient Kemet, or rounded them up out of ancient Kemet and marched them back to the caves where they spent 1,000 years. They're locked in the caves until certain groups of Moors from England and Ireland and in these areas who had money, who were wealthy Moors, began sending bounty hunters into the caves to retrieve the uh, the white women. And we over the last course of this Thanksgiving, we watched a series of movies, and I noticed a dialect, or I noticed the paradigm here, and it goes back to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said when he said that they were going to send the white woman. So we watched King Kong. In King Kong, the white woman is what the whole movie is pivoted around when King Kong takes the white girl. And then Malcolm X, in the beginning of Malcolm X, when he was with the white girl, he talked about the white girl. Then in with Emmett Till, right? Even in the movie Mandingo, the dude that was playing the part, he saved the white people who later they burned him, but he saved the white people because he was in love with the white girl, right? And so it's like that type of thing. But going back to these Moors, they began pulling these women out the caves and shaving them and fixing them up, putting them on nice clothes and putting them into what they call the Harlem. And the Harlem was be known today as a brothel, right? Go get a book called Night in the Moors Harlem. It's belong to my Moors, my bays, my L's, my baby's kids, and my L's who hover, who come from above. The L's came down, right? And you L's, you go back to the 200 follower. Now don't get scared and run off. Because I told you but it's two groups of L's. See what I'm saying? One group came from the 200 fallen who had the night title L's, and then the other group part of the 24 elders who mentioned of in Revelations chapter 4 verse 4, where it said that this group of 24 elders cast their crown down to the being who sat in the middle, who had a face like an emerald, right? Melchizedek, the green one, El Kadesh. right? Islam, shalom alaikum, assalamu alaikum to all my peoples. But yeah, so it was two groups of L's. Uh, but get back to what I said, these Moors pull them out the Harlems, start putting them into these brothels, and because this all ties into the 1,000 years, this is how they get out. They be started to get released. Actually, Marco Polo was the first person to sail when they got released, and actually he sailed to the Vietnamese land and caused a war between two brothers using Yaku's technology, right? Using what Yaku had taught them, the part of the technology, right? But going back, these Moors started these Harlems, and they began bringing these women, and they got pictures of them, man. It's really some mean stuff. These Moors, they really the dirty jokers, man. They were the ones that had these white women on leashes. We got pictures of it. We can't show because it's too gruesome. But they used to take these women to and sell them. The Moors, they were selling them as slaves, like dogs on chains. These women, and then they start putting them in the brothels. And so when the dirty Moors would come by and make whoopee with the women, they would give them change or give them, a gold coin or silver coin, and then they would save that, and that's how they start making money, right? But then when the Moor that owned the brothel or the Harlem, that's what they called it. Go get a book called Night in the Moorish Harlem, right? They would take the money from the women, and so this came up. This is how you start the pimping. The pimping start with the Moors. That's why all these pimps, they used to dress like Don Juan and all them. They dress like they dress because that's how the Moors dress, and they call themselves Macs. And that's how John Rolfe and John Smith and them came over here and started trying to mac on Pocahontas and pimp on Pocahontas. They saw, that's why the pimps always say, "Oh, I got to get me a Pocahontas looking girl," right? All of this stuff might go over your head or be too exclusive. Yeah, shout out King Yahweh, right? Uh, so that's why these pimps got certain things they say. It goes all the way back to the Moors, but they would take the money from these women and say, you don't supposed to have nothing, because that it goes all the way back to them taking it from the Hyksos. It ties into the lodge when you go into the lodge, because you become the worshipful master is your pimp when you join the lodge. The worshipful master become your pimp. Now you may not want to accept that and believe it, but that's the true facts. I'm telling you. And you're going to have to pay your dues, because a hooker, you got to pay his dues, pay her dues. You know what I'm saying? Or else she going to get her butt kicked or punished for not paying if they're a mean pimp, right? So these Moors, they were the ones that were doing this. And over time, they would get so many girls, and they called it a stable. And they treated these women like horses, or like, because these Moors, they was into horses and thoroughbreds, and they use words like this, snow bunnies and things of that nature. Uh, and eventually they started getting some of these women pregnant, and they would birth what they called then mulatto children. And some of the mulatto children would be a part of the big house, and then they would inherit it. Some of them would inherit some of the wealth of these wealthy Moors, and then they would work their way up and at the same time pulling their mother's side people into the fold, kind of like Obama. Kind of like Obama was. Obama's dad was a Moor, and then his mother was supposedly, she could pass. She probably, looking at her, now we get some different takes on it, because they say that the picture they give of us of Anna Duham, it's not his real mother. His real mother was the lady he took to the soccer game, and they had pictures of that too. So we could get into that, but we don't want to say too much on the algorithm on that part. We got to do that on another tape. Yeah, test, and then you guys, that's a perspective too. That they dug up Pharaoh Antonankin and took bone marrow. The elites took bone marrow from Antonankin when they raided the king of the valley of the kings, and desecrated our ancestors' tombs. They took DNA off of Anunnaki and brought them back to life using their cloning technology, and that's Obama. We heard that story too. We also heard the storyline of that Obama is Malcolm X, you know, secret son that he had with a white girl. And we, Dr. Phil presented that. Dr. Phil Valentine presented that perspective. But we don't want to get too sidetracked on that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff wrapped around what Obama's about, right? Um, we're talking about the 1,000 years probation, because in Revelations, right, chapter 20, it talks about the 1,000 years of probation. Where the devil gonna get, where the angel had a great chain, he came down, he locked the devil down, right? And then the devil got released for 1,000 years to see what he would do. This is when they Marco Polo sailed. But like I'm getting into, the Moors spreaded the devil around the whole world, right? Because like I said, it started with that Harlem first, and then they start having the kids. Then the Moors got a great idea, and they said that, look, we don't gotta go. We too pretty, man, to be routing around. We some players, man. We some real players. These Moors, is what they were saying, right? These dirty Moors. We some real players, man. We don't got time to be getting dirty and getting bloody and fighting and rolling around. We got money, man. We can build our own military. This is what we'll do. We'll go to the caves, kidnap the Caucasian dudes from the cave. We'll clean them up, train them up, give them a sword, teach them how to fight with a sword, teach them how to, we'll give them some armor, teach them how to battle and fight. We'll build get like 200-300 of them, show them how to sail on the boat. We'll call them Vikings, right? They Neanderthals, but we'll call them Vikings, and then we'll send them out as mercenaries to if another Moor don't want to pay us, we'll send our military against them. And they're gonna be more gruesome. Why? Because they beasts of the field. This how the Moors thought. They savages, and so they're gonna be more gruesome at war, and they're gonna eat hearts. They're gonna eat hearts out when we send them out. And so the Moors start building their own mercenaries and start setting up their own camps. And then the more scientists, they were so slick and so innovative and so creative. What they started doing is start having different breeding camps set up all over the world. One of them in Argentina, where they were breeding mercenary Caucasians, Neanderthals, to go around and attack other people that owed them money or they want to take over their land. They would send the Vikings who worked for these dark-skinned Moors, who they trained and gave them the equipment and was paying them. And that's why you see the pictures of these dark-skinned Moors in night uniforms holding their hand out to the Pope, but saying, "Pay me, we did the job." What was the job? Because it's a movie, it's a series out called the Borgias series, and they talk about in that series. Well, when they came back to the Pope and they said, "Yo, Pope, it's some people over here on the Great Beyond, and they savages." They said that we were savages over here, and that they over there for the taking. And they kidnapped one of the natives from over here, brought them to the Pope, and said, "Look how they dress, look how they look. We could take over them easy. We could give them religion, and then take their resources, give them a belief system." And that's what they did. But it wasn't no Caucasians over in America until like they didn't really get down until 1715. The people who claim on Plymouth Rock was dark-skinned Moors, Zionist Jews who call themselves Pilgrims, Quakers. They call themselves Quakers. They was dark-skinned guys. The niggas that did us in Thanksgiving was dark-skinned guys, called dark-skinned Pilgrims, Moors, who pilgrims us. These guys, another group were called the Black Conquistadors, and they were all Macs and Moors and pimps, right? But going back, speeding up to when these Moors start creating these mercenaries to go around and do all these, kill all these people, They saw some of them started getting captured, and they set up prisons for these people. And then they started kidnapping so many that these dirty Moors were sending. The prisons was filling up with convicts. They started calling these people convicts. These mercenaries who would get caught, they got sent by these Moors, who was actually bred in Argentina and South America, because some Moors went there and set up secret location. And still to this very day, this empire is set up down there in Brazil. They set their compounds up, these elites. They set their compounds down up in South America, these black hands. They got secret compounds and secret cloning facilities down in South America. And they was in with Hitler and all the rest of them, because they really Ashtar Command. And they're the black version of Ashtar Command, these guys. Yeah, but they started getting captured. And King George I, who was a Moor, right? And they was over the British Empire was Moors, right? That's what they don't want to tell you. Barif means great covenant, the covenant. Barif means covenant. So Great Britain means the Great Covenant. What was the Great Covenant? The Moorish Empire, right? And so the Moorish Empire was controlled at that time by King George I, who was a Moor, right? And what his great idea was, we're going to take these convicts and send them to lands that we conquered so they can work as on a work release program. So at first they started taking them to Australia. And that's how the people like Crocodile Dundee, who was really Europeans, they got took, or they really Caucasians, or really Frugaloid. Crocodile Dundee is a Frugaloid. Just look at him. He's a Frugaloid, right? But he mixed with something else because got a little bit of melanin. So but you can look at him and tell he Frugaloid. Crocodile Dundee, but his people got took to Australia by King George I now. After all these convicts were being caught, the Yaku's people were being trapped. And then they got a bright idea to say, you know what, we could take them some to America. So they started bringing people to America in 1715, these Caucasians, to work as convicts. And the Moors were beating them out of their money. And the Moors kept lying to these guys and telling them they was going to get released and that they was going to give them some of the land and all this. And they just kept lying to them for about 60 some years. This went on for about 60 years until the white folks got mad and said, you know what, we're going to break free of these Moors. And that started what you call the American Revolution. The American Revolution didn't have nothing to do with the Native Americans. It had something to do with white convicts breaking free from dark-skinned Moors who brought them over here to work as slaves, to pick cotton. The penal system is set up by the Moors. The penal system is set up by the Moors for mercenaries who were trained by Moors to fight against other Moors who were just Caucasians used as pawns in the game by dirty Moors, who say they designed this Moors Jews, but they don't got no home, so they trying to steal everybody else home. And I tell you, they free grazers, they planet poachers, and they free grazing off Big Mama's land, man. And Big Mama don't allow no free grazing on her land without asking first. You know, like if you want something from Big Mama, all you gotta do is ask. So they come and they don't ask, they just take. You know, and at this point, it's just they didn't went too far. But they start bringing these guys over here, these convicts, and that's why they say America, or the United States Corps, was set up by criminals, because they all were convicts when they came over here, and they were picking cotton, and that's why the story is told in reverse. And then what they do is, they once they got them over here and they got released, then they started in on us because we helped them fight against the Moors to get their freedom. These Caucasian guys. That's why a lot of them helped us out when the Moors came and tried to spin it on us. And so what they did is they spent the story around. And they said that we were slaves, when we never were slaves, we can't be slaves because slaves apply to Slavics. We're not Slavics. We're not Russians, right? Yeah, some people are Russians because they always rushing to get somewhere, right? But like I say, we ain't Russians, so we ain't Slavics. So we couldn't have been slaves. What we were prisoners of war. Go back, that's why we put out the Native American war tapes. All these wars were going on, and we were being captured as prisoners of war. And they were and then sold as slaves. We got so when you capture a prisoner of war and then you sell them as a slave. But they weren't selling us over here. A lot of us were getting taken to over there to London, to Africa. A lot of people from over here got taken to Africa. That's what they ain't telling you. The story is being told in reverse. This is Egypt over here of the West. This is Al Maxim, Egypt over here. This is Al Morocco of the extreme West, the great beyond, Turtle Island, the land of the frogs, right? The great Kubalon, the foundation of the pyramid building, the Washita Moors. And I say we Washita Sabine Moors. That's what we call ourselves now, Washita Sabine Moors. But like I said, the game is they got 1,000 years probation, and they got released onto the world by the Moors. It's the ones that brought them around and spread them around. They didn't know how to get around nowhere. You know what happened? When Akmos and them marched up to the caves, they blindfolded them. And you get blindfolded when you go in a Masonic lodge. You get blindfolded in the Masonic lodge. And they march you around in a circle because Akmos and them marched these Hyksos around in a circle so they wouldn't know which way they was going. So they couldn't even sell over here. The devil didn't even know how to find his way over here without the help of the Moors. Don't believe me. A lot of y'all already know this. Go check it out, right? A lot of people already know this. Who helped Christopher Columbus sail over here? The Moors. They didn't even know how to use the stars to sail. The Moors were the navigators. That's what you Moors say. They say, oh yeah, we was navigator. Okay, well, y'all was a navigator. So that means you navigated the devil over here. The devil couldn't navigate himself over here. He had help. He had help from the real devil. See? You got the middle man devil, and then the original devils who are Revelations, who they mention of in Revelation chapter 9. Verse 9, chapter 2, verse 9 and 3, 9, where they say, I know them which say they are Jews, but are not, but they are the synagogue of Satan. They are avatars with the spirit of Satan in them. That's what they are. And they look like us, but they ain't us. And they come over to mix in with us so they can get one drop of blood because Yaku told them, in order to beat a nigga, you got to get in bed with him. If you want to know all about them and get down with them and be all in with them, you got to get in bed with them. So they got in bed with us. What you think Montaoka, Pocahontas, and John Rolfe was all about? And then they produced the baby, Thomas Rolfe, and they chunked, supposedly, Montaoka overboard in Great Sand, England. You see, this is the game. But the devil couldn't sail nowhere without the help of the Moors. So the Moors navigated him around and dumped him off on all the people, just like Fidel Castro rounded all the criminals up in Cuba and dumped them off on America. So now you're gonna understand when you read in the Injil, which some of you refer to as the Revelations, where you read that America, who was the main part of the mystery Babylon, where it says that every foul and unclean spirit has entered this place, and that this place is gonna go down because all the bad spirits is over here, because all the criminals, all the devils got brought over here. That's why America got, a lot of the rules you got over here, they were set up to protect devils. A lot of the Constitution is to protect devils, right? I'm telling you, man. That may go over your head. So devils can come over here and have whatever religion they want. They can come over here and practice satanic religion. And it's a freedom of religion. See, look, we ain't have no religion, so we ain't need no freedom of religion because we ain't have no. So the devil, in order to protect himself from the Spanish Inquisition, because they were hunting these guys. Well, they said that really the Pope had hired these magi's, and it really wasn't the Pope because the Pope take from. It really was the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh had the magi's, and the Pharaoh is the same as the Pope when you know the game, right? Uh, but the Pharaoh had the magi's to exterminate these vampire dudes, and the vampires escaped over here, and they redid the Constitution and added that freedom of religion so that they can practice their voodoo. And it's not the same as alchemy, the regular alchemy. I'm talking about the satanic stuff that they came down and that Enoch's talk about when he said that they taught them chants and all that. Not the stuff that we do. They taught them other stuff to worship these dragons and fire beings that breathe fire, right? So it was that type of thing. And they were fire worshipers, these 200 fallen niggas who were elves, Moors. You know, they landed in Aura and they became one of Aura. It says, what about the brother Rashad Jamal? Can't believe they got their brother 60 years, man. That's crazy. They use mass information to do magic. Yeah, the TV is what they use to do the magic do, man. So they like, and we was watching these different movies, like I said, and it's always the white girl. They use the white girl. In Rosewood, it was the white girl who said that another black brother raped her, and that caused them to burn the whole town down. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, it was a white girl that the dude Dick Rowland supposedly bumped into on the elevator to cause them to blow the whole town down. The brother Emmett Till, little Chief Horn, Chief Lil Horn. Uh, he says he looked at a white girl, and that's what got the brother brutalized like they did. And so even like I said with the King Kong story, and we could go on and on. It seems like the white girl is like in the middle of all of it, of the destruction of some parts of the nation and things that's happening to us. Oh, he looked at a white girl. And like we say, the racism is supposedly dying out now because we're going out of the Piscean age, and so the yin and yang principle, the black and white combination, is supposed to go out with the Pisceans, and we still got there's a little bit of it still lingering. It take 40 years for age to go out. After the age go out, the tail end of it. So the tail end of that, the Piscean age is going out. So you got to, from 40 years from now, it'll be no more racism. For sure. 40 years from now, it'll be no more racism. You won't see racism on the planet. All the racist people will be dead. They won't be able to survive the shift. People that's racist, whether you black, and I found out that it's more black racist people than it is white people nowadays. So if you think you're gonna be racist and you're gonna survive the shift, you'll see your genetics. If you got racism in your genetics, your genetics won't survive the next 40 years because that's Piscean nomos information, and it's going out. And so this is not racism we're just talking straight historical facts based on what they showed us. And but like I say, Yaku's plan has been working for perfection. Like I say, people can say that Yaku didn't exist, but the effects of like Rod said on that tape, the effects of his whatever the outcome of what his goal was, we're seeing the effects from it right now today. And the 66,000 years is up. Then he had for 5,000 years he had time to run around, and then he got trapped for 1,000 years, and then he got released, or he got trapped for a certain amount of time, then he got released for another 1,000 years. to see what he would do. And he did the same thing. So now it's time to trap the devil again. And the angel came down with a great chain. What is the great chain? The great chain is the truth. The truth traps the devil. I'm telling you, man. He can't, it locks him down. It chains him down. It defeats him. And you got to keep in mind, this joker slick because he'll tell you 85% of the truth and tell you 15% of a lie. And that just makes the whole thing a lie. The Aquarian age will end in about a little under 2,200 years. 2,200 years from now. See, that's the thing, okay? If you go back and you study ancient Egyptian culture and you look at Mother Hathor, who was really Mother Ninti, right? Anu's daughter, who breastfed the first, who surrogate and breastfed the first classified human being, which is why they got her as Mother Hathor, breastfeeding the human, right? Who became a Haru, right? The first Haru. Then you go back to, if you look at her headdress is bull horns or Taurus, right? And then she got a sun disk sitting in between the two horns. And this symbolized the creation of the humans, this Adam, not necessarily the creation, but the Adam project, which was really the upgrade from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens, right? Took place in the Taurus age. So the Taurus age is when humans were upgraded. And the DNA of the Anunnakis, one particular species, because there's several different species of Anunnakis, but there's one particular species, the Plateians, humanoid Plateians, which is the Anunnum. They mix their DNA, their image, their likeness with the humans to upgrade them to Homo sapiens. This took place in the Taurus age. And then if you go into studying ancient Egyptian culture a little deeper, you'll find out that there was a being by the name of Amen. And Amen, when Amen ruled, actually Enlil ruled during the time of Taurus, because Enlil was in charge of the project. He was in charge of the whole project. He actually okayed Enki and Mother Ninti and them, and later on in Nergal, Tahuti, Murdoch, Damkina, and I think Aristotle got involved too in the project. But Enlil approved it. So Enlil was ruling during the Taurus age. And then after Enlil took off the project, then you go into the Aries, or the age of the ram, which is why you see the ram head on Amen, right? Because Amen, who is Murdoch, who is Enki's son, who is the grandson of Anu, right? Enki is Anu's son. Amen ruled during the age of Aries, and that's why you see the ram head all through ancient Kemet in certain locations in donation to Amen, who becomes Atum, Amun, which becomes the three phases of the sun in ancient Kemet. And so you see that dealing with that age, the age of Aries. And then, like I say, actually, there's a lot of codes in the Bible that goes into talking about Jesus was talking about going into the Aquarian age, when he talks about when you go into the house, you'll see a guy with the pictures of water, this and that. He goes into it. But it's a lot of information. It said, did Inky start sleeping with the creation? Yes, Inky actually impregnated his first mortal child. He had a baby. His first son was Enox with the mortals. One of his first children. Name was Enox. Adafa is one of his names. and he had, and they so that was Enki's son, and then his next son, who you know as in the Bible, and keep in mind Enoch's or Adapha had the ability to communicate with the Elohims, that was Enki them, right? Murdoch now. So he knew their language, and then he knew um, the language of the 200 fallen, because in the book of Enoch, he was like an intermediary between the two groups. Yeah, I guess Enoch would be considered as a giant compared to the Twa man. The Twa man don't get no more than 4.5 feet, and they were the people that was here compared to Enoch's, who was Homo sapien mixed back in with Inky. Inky had several avatars, but for the main part, Inky had a smaller structure because he wasn't full blooded Anunnaki. He was part Dragonian from his mother's side. And his mother and them, they were short people like the Twa man, the Dragonian humanoids. No, Inky actually no, they never did mess with Inky too much. They was really out to Murdoch, right? And how Inky get involved in some incidents is when he was protecting Murdoch from Inanna. Now Inanna, she wasn't involved in coming after Murdoch because for Enlil. Enlil had his own reasons for not liking Murdoch. He didn't like Murdoch because he didn't want Murdoch to take over and rule over him because he knew he was a better man for the job. And eventually Anu picked him anyway. But so that was Enlil's aim. He wanted to, anything Murdoch was doing, or any Inky too, he was out to do the opposite or stop him. Inanna's she didn't really have no beef with Inky, right? She had a beef with Murdoch, and the reason why she had a beef with Murdoch is because she believed Murdoch to kill her husband, Damuzi, who you probably know in ancient Kemet as Osiris or Osir. Yes, all the Anunnakis, at least the Elohims or Yahwehs, got trained on Nubaru to be scientists. And actually, my mother, she was a geneticist. That's why you got the book of Genesis, which is the genealogy of Isis. So my mother was a geneticist, and she actually was trained by her auntie, who is Mother Ninti. And she got trained in sex magic as well by her grandmother, who was Atun, a news wife, or Anu too. Listen to that, because y'all talk about Anu, but then you don't hear the name of his wife is Anu too, as in I'm Anu too. So my grandmother, my great grandmother, is Anu too. You hear? So these different the women are the scientists. The women are the Nubian woman is the greatest scientist in the universe. They are the nurturers. They are the creators. The woman is the creator. I'm telling you, the woman created is the creator. The woman create the man. I'm telling you, man. Niggas gonna get mad because they all testosterone. Oh, my testosterone. Nigga said, nigga, you got a mother, don't you? If you don't got no belly button, nigga, you probably one of them test tube niggas. Yeah, so okay. So we had different avatars. So the avatar when my father came here, and the avatar that we had was what they call the Watutsis, and we were greenish in tone. And the Watusi avatar was an avatar that was put together by Anu, and we lived in Orion at first. We came from Orion to Earth, right? And these green avatars who were really Hindu, it was a combination of Vulcan So we had Vulcan in us from these beings from Meldick. We had what Shaggy, or not the Shaggy, because the Shaggy got the Harry gene got rooted out, which is why a lot of you the Harry gene got rooted out. But the Harry gene is still there because we had Shaggy in us too. 'Cause that's what gave us the hype. The Shaggy, the Vulcan, and we had Anarchy DNA in us, these Watusi. And then later on, we added the Najarus. That's how we became the Najarus, because we added the Naga. The Naga beings were Cobra-like beings who came from Nirvana, these humanoid Hindus. That was mixed into our genetics too. And so that's what we were, but we had different avatars. We had my father, that was his second avatar. That's how you see him in as Osiris. But as Jamuzi, we had the Anarchy avatars, right? So you'll see two pictures of Inanna in the Holy Tablets. You'll see her as in her first avatar as Inanna, where she dark skinned with Afro puffs and the Mother Ninti braid coming down the side. And then you'll see her after she lost her first avatar because she went to the center of the earth and got shot with a plasma wave gun by a half sister named Mariska Gill. And she pretty much lost that first avatar. And Inky and Mother Ninti was able to get to her in time and bring her back to the hospital they had set up in Naples, and then transfer her consciousness to one of those new Watusi avatars. And a lot of it really was a suit. The bodies that we was using, they were suits that we had created to survive on this planet. Right, that we was creating them to live on this planet. These avatars. And my mother ended up getting one of those avatars, and she became known as Aset. And that's why you see her as green in the Holy Tablets too, with the woolly hair. And she have a step stool on her head, the chair, the Big Mama's chair. And that chair is a representation of the same chair at the Vatican, right? That sits up at the Vatican. And they tell you that's big. That's the Black Madonna's chair. The Black Madonna is Inanna, the Queen of Heaven and Earth, because Anu gave her the throne. And then you got the Pope. He goes in the back room and worship this Black Madonna holding the baby child. Yeah, so the women are the creators. The women are the scientists, the number one scientists in the world. Nobody, like, okay, so keep in mind, the fifth Anu, who was Anu's father, Anshaw, his chief scientist was Mother Hoover. She was the number one scientist. A woman scientist created insects. A woman scientist was instrumental in creating the reptilians and the bird race. The women created the bird race. A woman scientist. A woman scientist created the humans. So they tell you when they read the Bible, you got to keep in mind King James and them had sugar in their shoes. So when they wrote the Bible from a biased standpoint, being they didn't like women, right? They didn't like when they came in ancient Kemet, that they saw the Nubian woman standing behind her man with her hands on his shoulder, like you see Ramesses with his wife behind him, with her hands on his shoulder. He got his left foot forward, meaning to trample down evil, right? He holding his hands a certain way, right? They didn't like that. So the Europeans, they were, fruity boys, like Caesar and them, and they didn't like that we put the woman had the same equal rights and equal power as the pharaoh, or as her husband. Even over here on this side, the chief really, the woman was the one that did all the speaking and decisions. Even in some of their cultures, the ones that held true to our culture, like when you watch Spartacus, when you watch Spartacus, right? These Persians, who were the Moors, right? These Moors came and they had the heads of kings, and they came to Leonidas, I think that was his name, right? And they said that we got these heads and you can bow before us. And he said, man, he don't like the way that sound. But then before he kicked the dude off in the pit, he looked back at his queen. He looked back at his wife. We didn't use the word queen because that really means prostitute, right? But he looked back at his wife, right? He looked back at his wife, and then his wife nodded her head. When she nodded her head, he kicked that nigga off in there. He said, "Nigga, this is Sparta." And he kicked him off in there after his wife gave him the go ahead. See, they tell you that. See, if my old lady tell me to get you, man, you good as gone. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. If I look at her, she got a serious look on her face. She say, "Get that nigga, man. You gone." And that's how it was, like with Big Mama, and that's how it really was back then, man. So the reptilians are from Dragos. They turned into scientists. Yeah, the reptilians are good genetical scientists too, but they didn't come from Dragos, right? They come from the planet Mildic. The first reptilians come from the planet Mildic. And they were seeded on the planet Mildic by the Anunnakis. And they weren't even called Anunnakis then, right? At that time. But they were seeded and they evolved over time into different species through crossbreeding with other species. But when they crossbred with the bird race, and so these reptilians inherit wings and became flying serpents, the ground army of Mother Huber. I mean, the airborne army of Mother Huber, and then they migrated to Dragon star system once they gained the technology to be able to travel, and then set up their base in Draco star system. But they originated from this solar system. A lot of the life, because this is your solar system, is one of the older solar systems besides Betelgeuse, which is about 1,500 and some light years away. But Betelgeuse is one of the oldest stars on this side, and Taurus or the Centaurian star system. And how you know that? Because they are red stars. Red stars are older stars than yellow stars and blue stars. It says, how do you tell if you are a new soul or reincarnation? Most of y'all are old souls. Because you have like mostly because nobody ever dies. There's no such thing as death. And so most of y'all, you've been here since the 76 trillion years. Whether you be a disagreeable, which can be called electron energy, negative energy, or whether you be protons, which can be called positive energy, or seraphims. Right, so you got seraphims, cherubims. So most of you are seraphims or cherubims, and then some of you have combined the two and became as the nucleus, because this whole universe is based on three, right? So if you break down the atom, you can break down the atom into smaller parts than the nucleus, the proton, and electron, but everything exists from that perspective. So you either electron of protons or both, right? Or a combination of all three, right? And that gives the willpower. The birth of the atom gives the birth of the willpower, the birth of the emotions. Because somebody was asking me, and this goes along with what you're saying. Somebody was asking me, man, break down the dimensions. Well, the first three dimensions is height, width, and length. Then the fourth dimension, and all these dimensions exist as one dimension when you sum it up. But the fourth dimension is volume. It's that which sits in between what they're calling space. What sits the rest of the middle part, the volume. And then once that volume began to take form and take motion, we go into the emotions. And so you talk about soul, you're talking about energy and motion, right? And so all of you are souls. And when you talk about you being an old soul, right? Nobody's really a new soul. Most of y'all are all old souls, right? Some of you just choose not to remember. Now a spirit is different. Because spirit can be just a temporary thing. A spirit can be a temporary thing because they got computer spirits. They got computer generated people, like androids and synthetics and clones who are a created spirit, a temporary spirit. They don't have a soul, right? They didn't come from the the natural force of the universe called the who, right? The natural creative force and will, who. They came from computer generated spirits. And I told people Ashtar Command has this technology on the dark side of the moon where they can create synthetics and send them down here, and they walk around and run the government, and you think that they real people, and they really ran by computer, where they can type in on the computer and tell a nigga to crack like a duck, and he'll start cracking like a duck, and they got to go in for maintenance every 6 months on these things to get the oil changed and all that stuff. I'm telling you, man, check it out. Don't believe me? And so all this is leading up to the 1,000-year probation that the devil got to come back and reap all of his dirt. And keep in mind, the devil, they look like us, but they ain't us. So you thinking that's the white man that's the devil, like Elijah Muhammad told you. But the original joints, the original dudes, and to keep in mind, the word devil could be used loosely because the devil really means adversary. So whoever is your adversary could be the devil, right? Once you figure out who your adversary is, and no matter what color they are, they could be the devil. Anybody that's against you, let's just think about this. If you doing the right thing and you on the straight and narrow and what you believe in your heart, and somebody is trying to go against it, then they could be the devil, right? If you're a Christian and then somebody coming and rubbing you the wrong way, trying to get you off your square, and they could be the devil. You know what I'm saying? It depends on, because you can't just pull the rug off of anybody. Like one of my teachers, Mark Brady, used to teach us. Like, we know that that morning. Listen at this, because we say good morning, right? Good morning. And there's really nothing good about mourning, because mourning is a thing people do at funerals, right? So when he said he was walking down the street one day and the lady said, "Good morning." Now he could have said, because he know the truth, he could have said, "Oh yeah, well, mourning is a thing that we do at funerals," and pull the rug off the old lady. And but he didn't. He just responded, like, to the old lady on the same level that she was on, like, "Good morning," even though he know that that's a misinterpretation. But he didn't want to pull the rug on the lady, because, like they said in the Matrix, Morpheus told Neo, he said, we usually don't wake people up after a certain age because it can be damaging to them. So you could be a devil by going to pull Christianity from somebody that is good, and they using it and it's making them live a good life, or they are Muslim and they doing good as a Muslim, and Islam is for them. And then you go with your right knowledge, good old right wisdom self, trying to pull the rug off on them because you know so much, because you are dang on know most, right? Those who claim to know the most, and you pull the rug off on them, and then you become a devil, a black devil, or whatever color devil. You know what I'm saying? An adversary, because you just took what they, and then without replacing that with something that they can utilize that would be good. Hey, shout out Maria, right? Because my daughter name gonna be Maria. Maria, matter of fact, your name Stephanie Maria is the special name, because your first name means crown, and then Maria means you're a daughter of our Nana, because Maria is one of our Nana's names. And Stephanie means crown. That's my mother's name, Stephanie. My mother's name is Stephanie Diane. Diane is one of our Nana's names, Diana. Dina Islam, because they worship our Nana in Islam, because the niggas that set up Islam were Catholics, and the Catholics worship the Black Madonna, the Jesuits. We ain't trying to get too spaced out here. Yeah, but shout out Stephanie Marie. My daughter's name is gonna be Maya Marie. Yeah, so Stephanie Marie means crown of Inanna. Who up with us, man? It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. What time is it? Like 12:20 something, man. We up with it. Yeah, but we ain't want to hold you long, man. We wanted to give you something to go off of. We're setting up the background right now. We should be back up and running with the camera going live by Wednesday night. We gonna be back up and running with the features and everything, you know. So stay tuned for that, man. We got any more questions before we get out of here? Says the Bible is okay, but yeah, the Bible is okay if you know how to interpret it. If you know that the Bible is a combination of several different informations, like the Anunnaki information and in the Old Testament is mostly Anunnaki information. The New Testament is mostly Najaru information, with the story of Haru, the Blessed Mother Mary, all that. I'll have to check that out, man. But Maru is the same as, it means like a mountain. It can mean a mountain. It can mean uh one who can amass the illusion, because the Ru can mean the illusion, and Mu can mean one who's of. But I ain't for sure on that. I had to get back with you on that and break down the because you break it down in prefixes and suffixes. Yeah, so what happens is the Greeks, who are the Hyksos, right, came into ancient Kemet, right, and they took what they seen when they saw how Inanna became impregnated by a dove, which they turned to the Holy Spirit, right, and they took this and put it into the New Testament as a Holy Spirit impregnated a woman, but they didn't understand that we had artificial assimilation back then in ancient Kemet, because these people were scientists. They were creating humans, right? They were doing surrogates. They had Mother Ninti was a surrogate mother, so they didn't understand this information. So they took it and transferred it into their language and watered it down, and it became the Holy Ghost impregnated Mary. Right? Mary is Inanna, Isis, Set. And they got this. I can show you the actual drawing on the wall where they show the dove. I mean, the bird leaving Osiris, right, and then landed on Isis, and they took this and ran with that and created the story of the impregnation of a ghost impregnating a woman, because they saying that Osiris was dead and he was a ghost. So they took that and ran with it, and they got people believing that ghosts can actually impregnate women, and it became known as the ghost spell. That's what Doc called it, the ghost spell, and they call it the gospel. But if you translate the Injil, where it says ghost or gospel, is really the truth. It translates into the gospel is the truth, but they put us under a spell called the ghost spell. Got us thinking that ghosts impregnate women when it wasn't that particular story. The story was Inanna being impregnated by the scientists in ancient Kemet using artificial assimilation. I can pretty much give you the whole rundown of the New Testament and show you where they took it all out of ancient Kemet. And it comes from Dogon teachings. Dogon, the Dogons are one of the groups of the original ancient Egyptians who the whole religious theme come from, the nomos. They created the whole religious theme of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. And then Hinduism. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I heard the brother on OSM, I think they in London, right? And they asked him, what is the oldest religion on the planet? And they said it's Hindu. It's Hindu ism, the oldest religion on the planet. And he said that, oh no, the Hinduism ain't the oldest religion on the planet. That the African religions predate Hinduism, right? And I thought about it, and I said it's different perspectives on that because the Africans didn't have no religion until the Nomos came. And the Nomos were the Hindus. The Hindus were they were the first people to come with a religion. The Africans didn't have no religion. They weren't even called Africans. We can get into that too. But it wasn't no religion. The Hindu religion is the oldest religion because there wasn't no religion to that religion till the Hindus came with this fire worship and this dragon worship. Who did the Africans worship before the Hindus came? And if you read the Holy Tablets, I'm pretty sure he read the Holy Tablets. Doc tell you that all those Tabangala and Yoruba, all them gods came when the Hindus came. When Shabazz and them came, they brought them gods with them. So all them African religions that you're talking about is Hindu driven. It's Hindu religion. The Oshun, Tubonga, all that's 200 fallen Hindu religions that translated into African culture. The Africans didn't have no religion. So I challenged the brother on that he said that the Hindu religion is the oldest religion. Because that's the same as the Tabangala, Ogun, and all the rest of them. No disrespect to your people gods. You know what I'm saying? People got their own gods, they got their gods. Yes. Stephanie, yes. And she's still alive and live in the center of the earth right now. And if you want to read about it, order a book called Our Nana Return. Our Nana talk about it in that book. Get a book called Our Nana Return. You can get some of Doc books off of they got a lot of them online, on Amazon. You can read some of them free on Scribe. You can read the Holy Tablets for free in the links in our description on this tape right here, for free. The Holy Tablets by Doc, right? And also, if you're in the Atlanta area, you can get up at All Eyes on Egypt Cultural Center at Stone Mountain Plaza. They got the books right there, and it might be a couple other spots. Just look up All Eyes on Me Cultural Centers, and it might be one in your city. And usually they'll have most of Doc books and some of the new books too, the Potter Rocks and things of that nature. Yeah, but sort of hear some noise in the background. Yeah, on Amazon, it's called The Return of Our Nana. It's got Our Nana on the front. It's like a gold book. I got the book in my storage. I read the whole book. But Our Nana talks about going down there to meet the queen, and she said she sat with her, and that she told that this lady, it wasn't she crossed over to another dimension. She said they live in she said, and Nana said it's different earths, right, within Earth. Like not just Shambhala, it's another ram or another dimension here, like a fifth dimensional Earth that these beings live in the center of the Earth. Hey, most of us got Hindu in us, right? Through this tribe of Shabazz coming in and mixing in with us. What they was doing is they would, if you study a black widow, Sheena, study a black widow, and then you get an idea on what the Amazon women were doing. Study how the black widow mate, and then you'll see it'll come to you. Says Crystal City is the center. Yeah, well, now Crystal City, says Crystal City is in the center. No, Crystal City actually hovers above the North Pole, the hole in the North Pole, in the fifth dimension, maybe about 200,000 miles above the Earth's core crust, and is actually translating or transfiguring the energy that's coming from the black sun, which is the 600-mile sun in the center of the Earth. It's an energy that's shooting up to the North Pole, and it actually is what causes those lights in I think it's in Alaska, where they have the auroral lights, and it causes to be, I think, daylight for 24 hours, and the time frames to be off up there because of the this Crystal City actually sits above the North Pole over the hole. Now they got what they call Rainbow City down there, which is made out of plastic, and they do got cities built out of crystal down there. But I think you're referring to the Crystal City mentioned of in Revelations chapter 21, where John Yohanan said that he saw this New Jerusalem, which is actually a mothership that comes off of Nibiru, which they had 24 of these huge crystal cities, which were some of them 1,500 square miles in diameter, made from crystal and gold and different rubies and other stones like emerald and things of that nature, sapphire. We actually talk about that. Go watch the tape we just put out not too long ago, about 2 months ago, called The Journey of Mothership Nibiru. It actually goes into detail on that. But other than that, man, we about to get up out of here. Peace and love. We send divine love throughout the balanced universe to all. Peace. Wadu. Freedom Master Teacher, man. Dr. Malachi Z York. We are.